Right, apologies. And we are back on the phone with our guest, Dr. Mohamed Fahmy, again, the professor of political science. Welcome back, doctor.
Thank you.
Sorry for the interruption. Continue, doctor. You were speaking about the importance of this revolution and how it really reshaped life for Egyptians in Egypt.
Yes, so just like we were saying, a lot
Yes.
of the themes of the state's policy today is towards modernization, empowering social classes, development in general, state sovereignty, nationalism. All of these features, I think, have been established and further, enhanced in Egypt's policies since 1952.
Yes.
So it's really very important today that we mark this event with some sort of maybe remembrance of what the main objectives of this revolution were, and hopefully that we can build on that and still expand that today.
Indeed. Doctor, we saw, the president speaking about the main achievements of the revolution and what is being done until this day to further the goals and aims of providing a better life for Egyptian citizens, whether in the political, social, or economic fields. How do you see the president's speech? What were some of the most important aspects that were highlighted by the president for you in his address?
It's really important to re-stress the fact that Egypt is still committed. 1950.
Yes.
Recently have been, flagging a lot of, issues regarding Egypt's or the state's tendency to stay away, objectives to, somehow maybe change the overall, outlook of the economy towards more liberalization and privatization, and what impact this may have on the masses. I think it was really important from the state and from the president here to re-strengthen the fact that Egypt is still committed to these objectives, given the fact that we are still facing a lot of challenges when it comes to social
Right.
and income gaps and so forth.
Absolutely right.
It was really important, for that to
Yes.
re-stress.
Right, right. Doctor, let me ask you about the importance of this revolution in the sense that it was supported by the Egyptian people, and if it weren't for the Egyptian people at the time, it would not have been a possible revolution. How do you see the similarities with our latest revolution that happened in not a long time ago, and how the Egyptian army has stood out in both revolutions behind the people?
Yes, there are, of course, similarities and there are differences. The most clear similarity, of course, is that the military institution in both events played a major role.
Yes.
The initial spark in the case of 1952 came from the three officers who were, after all, represent a certain segment, middle class within the Egyptian society, all came from different backgrounds, but they shared this, case of aspiration for changing the political and the social spectra of Egypt in 1952. Similarly, in 2013 also, there was maybe more of a mass movement that took to the streets, and we saw a lot of protests and so forth. But the reality, of course, is that the military institution also stood with the people and stood by the masses, and there was this sense of common objective between the two forces, that there needs to be change within the country on the political and the social levels. So
Yes.
these are some of the similarities. Of course, the context is different. The world in 2013 is very different from what it was in 1952. After all, 52 events in Egypt, without also, putting it as part of a regional and a global movement at the time that was seeking independence from colonialism and building the nation-state project in several countries, including Egypt. 2018, of course, the world was different, but there are here similarities in the fact that there are still clear-cut objectives of trying to achieve development, of industrialization, of modernization,
Yes.
that still remain relevant until today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Mohamed, one final question, if I may, sir.
Sure.
How did the revolution, in your opinion, change the position of Egypt globally and really realign and reshift the way that the whole world looked at Egypt at that time and looks at Egypt until today?
Well, massively. In Since 1952, of course, we saw events like the nationalization of the Suez Canal in 1956, and the major role that was played by Egypt as a regional power and as a supporter of the freedom movements in Africa and Latin America and Asia. So also part of the non-aligned movement that Egypt was a leader of at the time. It really marked a shift in Egypt's foreign policy and position as a regional and also a global relevant power. We hope that we draw upon the lesson that somehow reestablish this reality today.
Absolutely. Right. Dr. Mohamed Fahmy, Professor of Political Science, I'd like to thank you very, very much, sir, for your time and your insight on today's edition of Cairo Local Time. Ladies and gentlemen, a very short break, and we'll be right back to continue. Do stay tuned.